If you're married or in a committed relationship, but in love with someone else, here's what you should do. I understand that the situation that you're in is extremely challenging and it is cause for a lot of confusion. And maybe it has also affected the way that you're currently interacting with your partner or your spouse. It's very important in these situations that you don't try to make any rash decisions. You need to properly reflect on what is going on within you and then make an informed decision. So let's go through it here. First and foremost, I want you to take a moment to investigate these feelings that you have. What is this person that you're in love with representing for you? Just try and answer that question right now. What do they represent for you? Do they represent spontaneity, fun, joy, passion, maybe things that you've lost in your marriage or your relationship that you're now rediscovering with this new person? So is it the person that you're in love with, or is it the experience of being in love? It feels so good, and being this version of yourself that you may have lost due to daily chores and maybe even raising kids together and just living a day-to-day life together. You can't sustain that level of newly found romance that you have when you meet someone else, and especially if it's an affair partner, because you never really get to be in a day-to-day relationship with someone like that. You only get to see the fun, loving, spontaneous side to who they are. All the boring stuff you don't really get acquainted with until you actually get into a long-term relationship with somebody. So try to investigate, what is it that I'm really appreciating in this other person? Is that something that's been missing from my own relationship? Is this a sign of just temporary dissatisfaction with your current relationship and a symptom of that? Or is this true, deep, meaningful love that goes beyond infatuation? So it's really not enough that you're just newly in love with somebody, even though it can feel like such a strong sensation. It's like a drug being in love, because your body is neurochemically being bombarded with a lot of hormones. So you do feel sort of high when you're in that state. And you don't want to leave a marriage or a relationship because of a temporary high. You want to do it for the right reasons. So the next step is that you need to examine your marriage. Are there unfulfilled needs? Are there conversations that need to be had? Are there anything that you've been missing for a long time that could potentially be rediscovered? Have you lost connection to each other? Have you truly worked on getting that connection back? What if you were, let me ask you this question, if you were newly in love with your husband or your partner, who would you choose? If you were newly in love with both of these people that you're involved with, or the person that you're in love with and in your current relationship, who would you choose? Because once upon a time, you were probably in love with the one that you're with now. So just because that has faded over time, it doesn't mean that the right decision is to leave. Because with anybody, those new feelings will always fade after a certain amount of time. You know? And it doesn't mean that you stop being in love. It just transforms into something different and something deeper. Do you have something that is worth fighting for? Do you have something that is worth seeing a coach or a therapist for, working on it? And is your partner willing to work on things? Have you even had a conversation with them? Do they even know what's going on within you? Or is this just something that you've been carrying around and you've been afraid to say anything? It can be a lack of intimacy, unresolved issues. The list goes on and on and on. And that really needs to be talked about, because if it's solvable, maybe you would be disinterested in this person that you're in love with right now. I mean, sometimes people really do find love, but more often than not, I see it being a symptom of a problem in the current relationship or a problem within themselves. So it's sort of like you fall in love with someone because they remind you of a version of yourself that you feel like you've lost. And this is especially the case when people are in marriages and they have kids together and they feel like now they're just a mom or they're just a dad. And then they meet this person who makes them feel like they're just 21 again, and just this whole side of them that they've lost for so many years, they're now getting introduced to them, that side of themselves, and that's very tempting and feels great. It's important that you identify the role of this person that you're in love with. Is this person just a catalyst for you to leave your current relationship? I see that happening a lot. This is a very, very common way of leaving relationships. Finding someone else because you feel like you can't do it unless you're in love with someone else, and having that, it's giving you an extra push. So maybe you were meant to leave this marriage or this relationship anyways, and you just didn't know how to do it, and now this person comes along and you're using this as an opportunity. You're using the person as a catalyst to push you out of the relationship. So identify the role. What is the role of this person in your life? Is that the role? Or are they a good friend? Have you been missing good friendships? What do you feel when you're with this person? And does it compare to how you feel when you're with your spouse? What can happen in marriages and long-term relationships is that if too much resentment builds up over time, then your heart slowly starts blocking. It doesn't close, but it's like there's a wall. And with a new person, there hasn't been that much fighting or trauma, whatever has happened in your marriage or relationship. So the heart is more open, and there are not these walls that you have to, go through to get to that soft, loving spot inside your heart. I understand that you probably can't be honest with your spouse right now, with your partner right now, but at least be honest with yourself. Maybe you can't even be honest with your friend because you know that what you're doing and what you're thinking about and obsessing about is inappropriate, because it is. If you're married or in a relationship, it is inappropriate to entertain thoughts like this. It is inappropriate to entertain something like this. I'm not saying this to shame you. I'm just saying that it's something that you need to find a way out of. Whichever direction you choose to take, that's up to you, but it's not a long-term sustainable situation because it causes a lot of agony for you as well. And I'm sure that even though your partner doesn't know what's going on within you, they can feel that something is off. So it's definitely affecting your relationship as well. And for the third party, this person that you're in love with, it's not really fair to them either, especially if they're single and available, and hoping that you'll eventually choose them. Just don't let temporary emotions cloud your judgment. This life is long, and whoever you choose to spend your life with, it's going to be many years that you're going to be with that person. So it's not worth it to throw it all away if this is just a whim, if this is not something that you see yourself pursuing long term. A whole different question is if you should stay in your marriage or with the person that you're with. Maybe you shouldn't. I don't know. I don't know what your issues are, but I definitely recommend that you don't make any decisions until you have seen a couples coach or couples counselor of some sort with your current partner. I work with a lot of couples like this. You're certainly welcome to reach out to me. There's a link down in the description below. So of course you can't communicate with your spouse about exactly what's going on within you. And I actually don't recommend that you do until you have more clarity, because it usually doesn't help the situation much to make your spouse feel or your partner feel super insecure in the situation. I know many coaches would say, go ahead, just be honest, have the conversation. I don't think you should stir the waters, stir the boat. Sorry, I don't know if you know, but I'm from Denmark and English is not my mother tongue. So there are some phrases that I'm not really sure if I'm using them correctly. But anyway, don't rock the boat. That's what it's called. Don't rock the boat unless you have gained more clarity yourself. Eventually, you would have to speak to your partner, of course, but you should wait until you won't be sitting there having a conversation where you're saying, oh, but I kind of want to stay. I kind of want to go. I don't know what I want to do. It's not really their problem. It's really your decision to make. But what you can do is have a conversation with them about needing to see someone and needing to work on the relationship, and set some sort of ultimatum like, I am in a situation where I'm feeling very, very lonely and frustrated in this relationship. I don't want to end up leaving you. Let's please go see someone together. So what I recommend is 1, you work on the marriage, and then 2, you decide whether you want to end the relationship or whether you want to end it with whoever you're in love with. And it hasn't been defined in this video whether you're just infatuated with someone, like some sort of limerence situation. I've made a video about limerence as well. You should check it out. It's highly relevant here. Or whether it's a full-blown affair that you're engaged in. Either way, you got to be prepared for the consequences. There are consequences, even if you don't choose to share it with your significant other, there are consequences within you and within your heart. If you're a normal person, then it's going to be difficult for you to be in this situation. You're going to feel guilty, you're going to feel bad, you're going to feel withdrawn. So I suggest you figure it out as soon as possible. Another thing is that when it comes to attachment styles, being infatuated with someone else or in love with someone else is a typical symptom of avoidant or fearful avoidant attachment, which means it's a perfect way for the fearful avoidant or the avoidant person to distance themselves from their current partner because they're uncomfortable with intimacy. So they'll almost create an imaginary in-love feeling with someone else, or it can be with an ex or a coworker, in order to keep their actual spouse at arm's length because they don't want the intimacy. It's a very effective strategy not to be vulnerable with the person that you're with because you're always fantasizing about someone else, thinking about someone else. I hope this video was helpful. Please comment below if you have any questions. If you like the video, please like it and subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.